Welcome to the National Workplace Bullying Coalition's November webinar. Thank you so much for being here and watching. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Paul Pearson, our Director of Marketing and Technology and Cybersecurity activist and entrepreneur. We'll discuss cybersecurity and why it is crucial for small businesses and nonprofits. These organizations hold valuable data, credentials, and money that hackers actively seek. And this webinar will show practical and cost-effective strategies these organizations can use to protect their digital assets. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Paul Pearson.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Whew. Today I will be presenting fortifying small businesses and against threats. This is my second time presenting this, so I workshopped it and I smoothed everything out. So this should be a pretty smooth presentation. Um, so what we're gonna learn today is how to protect yourself and others, current view of the cyber landscape, and learning how to identify scams. So table of contents, about me, the problem, um, people, process, and technology, PPT, tools, resources, and then we're going to look at actual scams as well. Please hold all questions to the end. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from San Diego, California. I spent about 10 years in the Air Force. Um, I've been active, reserve, and guard. I worked for CISA, the State Department, 275th Top Operations Squadron, and a fun fact, that's actually me over there in the top right, um, during a photo shoot for the Air Force. Um, but yeah, I worked for a long time for the government. I used to do, in high school, I was a kid who was always like downloading movies, music, had access to everything. But then when I grew up, started working for the government, I ended up accidentally blowing the whistle on corporate espionage as an information system security officer. And then I did a hard pivot into entrepreneurship, started my own company, and then a couple of years later, I started my own nonprofit focused on helping students learn cyber, IT, web design, and marketing since it all runs together. And then my for-profit running name LLC does the same thing, but except for we just do it for money, for small businesses and nonprofits in the DMV area. I currently live right now in the DMV area, Northern Virginia. So that's currently the market that I'm covering. Um, so the major problem, right, is that the United States, they lose 3.4 billion in scams every year. I mean, I'm sorry, for 2023, which is up 11% from last year, right? Um, this stat is for the state of Virginia, where I currently reside and where I present this. So this is only relevant for people in Virginia. But there's a link below, and you can come see how much money your country or your state loses as well, you know? But Virginians lost 198 million, which is up 25%. Um, like I said, so they're getting just better and better. Um, there's a list. Where's the top three? Ah, there we go. So they base all these scams in 29 different categories, right? And the top three categories are investment scams, BEC or business email compromise scams. That's when the attacker takes over if you're using Workspace or Outlook, typically as Outlook, the attacker takes control of and then starts, playing with money or moving emails around. Um, Tech support scams, but there's all kinds of scams. So, but those were just like the top three. So, what is cybersecurity really? You know, um, the easy way to look at it is people, process, and technology, right? People is generally comprised of, how well your people are being treated. Are they trained well? Do they have what they need to do their job? The process generally goes to like your SOPs, your policies for using the technology. you know. And then there's always you want to have, specific rules and regulations and policies based off of the different types of technology you're using, you know. Um, and that's kind of where there's been lots of failures in the not only the big in the corporate world, but also with the small businesses and nonprofits. Because you don't have, a solid entrepreneurs generally their main focus is to make sales, you know. And unfortunately for small businesses, they can't bounce back from a cyber attack essentially. 80% of the times, whenever a small business gets hacked or whatever, they go out of business. Same for nonprofits, small nonprofits. We've seen it happen many times, and it's very, very unfortunate because the small businesses, nonprofits, they're the things that drive the economy. And then a lot of times they always use small business. They use small businesses like attackers will use small companies and nonprofits to as a jumping point to attack larger organizations as well. So in this presentation, we're going to mainly going over processes and education on how to help you uh, identify scams, essentially. Um, Alrighty. So just general best practices. Um, Using a password manager. Um, Using a password manager is important because password managers generally allow you to use very complex passwords that you have to save. You only have to save one password instead of having like, 25 that are similar or the same, you know? Um, Creating strong passwords. So essentially, it's easier to hack a password that's simple. And then another big issue is, I'm going to get to it in the future slide. There's a website called You Got Pwned that can tell you if your password, and you can put in your email account, and it'll tell you if your password or any of your accounts have been compromised. And then so it's easy for an attacker to then get one compromised email or password and then use it against all of your other accounts, you know? Um, and then of course, don't download anything email wise from an unknown sender, you know? You want to make sure that you are waiting for that email that attachment or download or Google Meet link, you know? Even if you do know the person, you want to verify that they sent it first, you know? Um, so on a technical level, authentication, right? So authentication is generally broken up into what you know, what you have, and what you are. Two-factor authentication is generally your password and then one other thing, so what you have or what you are. Where multi-factor authentication will generally comprise two or more of one of these. These simple, just utilizing two-factor authentication will minimize or prevent 99.9% of attacks, they say. But it honestly, for the most part, I feel like saying 99.9% of anything is damn near impossible. But I will say at least 90% of all the attacks out there will stop. Um, Recently, I think I'm not sure if it was this year or last year. I think it was the Department of Commerce's Twitter got attacked, and essentially they didn't have two-factor authentication set up, just really easy misses. So like for small businesses, nonprofits, you want to make sure that if you're creating an internal policy or a handbook or manual, to make sure that two-factor is mandatory. And then I would say multi-factor authentication for administrators. So talking about domain security, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a small business owner or nonprofit owner, you're going to have a domain. You're probably going to have a website and you're going to have a domain. The domain is that's exactly where the attackers want to be. And that's exactly if you have your domain set up correctly, it'll help you one market your business better because you won't go into people's spam boxes. And then two, prevent you from being attackers from using your email account to spam or attack other people, you know, people within your own network. Um, so I'm going to go over four major, I guess, protocols that should be enabled if you have a website and you use email. All my clients, I make sure this is enabled. But DNSSEC, you've probably seen it. Generally, it's just a switch that you flip. If your domain provider does not have this, I would switch to a different domain provider. DMARC or domain-based message authentication. Um, this is something takes a little bit of research, but it's fairly easy to do. I'm showing an example of my company's DMARC record um, right here. And then SPF, Sender Policy Framework. This is these policies. There's like generally, I think there might be more than three options, but I'm just gonna go over these three options, and these are generally every custom domain provider. They should have one of these policies in place. But essentially, so for instance, you might have like a policy set up where it's reject all, right? So if you don't have your SPF set up properly and your DMARC and everything else, then it'll reject your email. So your organization won't even get your email. So like as a nonprofit owner or as a business owner, your emails won't even reach your client, your target audience, unless you have the other things set up correctly, your SPF. Um, and companies are getting more and more aggressive because email is one of the main vectors that um, attackers use to create mayhem and make money. So a lot of organizations are, they're really getting on top of it. And as a small business owner, you guys need to as well, or we all do. Um, Next, looking at other ways to protect yourself, right? So a domain, for instance. Um, A domain meaning like, for NWBC's domain is nwbc.charity. That's our email domain. Our website domain is workplacebullying.org. But whenever you get an email from somebody or somebody sends you a website link, then you can check these. There's more sources of open source threat intelligence, but these are the three main ones I check. IBM X-Force Exchange, VirusTotal, and Cisco Talos. Um, you guys, I'm going to make sure that there's a link to this in the YouTube section, so you guys can have access to these links and everything. But essentially, you just copy and paste the domain of what you think might be suspicious, and it'll probably tell you, you know, where where the domain is located. If it's located in Iceland or Panama, most likely it's a scam. You know. Um, and then this is the other link. Have I been pwned? So when you put in your email account in there, then it'll tell you if your account has been breached and also which website. I can probably do a quick demo of this, honestly. So this is something I think is pretty useful. This is I'm gonna use one of my dummy email accounts. Oh, okay. So 8 tracks, Park Mobile, and Hot Topic were all breached. Oh, look, this was October 2024 breach. Wow. So, um, if all, like for instance, if one of my emails was the same, then they would have access to all of my emails. I mean, all my passwords essentially. So, but I don't really use this account, and I always use different passwords, so it's not a big deal. And then another big thing, of course, is phone number scams. So if you just Google carrier lookup, then you could type in a phone number that calls you and then see what the carrier is. So by carrier, I mean whether it's T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. Um, if it says something like in this example, it says FKA, interlinquent, neutral, tandem. I think I already looked this up. This was a voice over IP company, and that's something that a lot of scammers use, honestly. Third-party voice over IP companies. So now we're going to look at an actual scam, right? So this website is called petpet-park.com, right? Um, I don't recommend you go to it. I'm just showing this as an example. But yeah, this is a 100% scam website. So many websites on the internet are scams, honestly. Oh, I didn't mean to go to it. Let me full screen this again. All right. So this is IBM X-Force Exchange, right? So IBM gave it a risk of one, you know? And then down here, you can see the category, botnet, command and control server, cryptocurrency mining. And it's located in Canada. So most likely they just utilize this website to collect, credentials and use people's, find a way to get access to people's machine to use it as a botnet or to use as part of their bot network. There we go. But like I said, whenever I check one, I check all three because virus total may not pick something up or vice versa, you know? And there's plenty out there as far as platforms, but that's just the main three that I choose. These are a couple more scams, last two scams. So this one is actually on the left. Um, this is a letter that goes out to people asking them to pay for their domain. Um, Now, they are not linked to your domain at all. The company says domain networks. It's pretty vague. They have a website and everything, but this is 100% fraudulent. But they're able to collect lots and lots of money just by sending out invoices and seeing who pays. So, yeah. And then on the right is a Facebook message, Facebook scam message. These are I see these all the time. Um, Generally, like the first 24 hours, they might have an actual person's face on there, but the message generally always looks the same. And with that, thank you for enjoying my presentation. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns, general questions.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. You have made such a significant difference for the organization since you've joined the board and make such a contribution to the organization. And you've helped me in turn, with my business and making sure that I'm protected. So thank you so much for presenting and all giving us this valuable information.
Yeah, it's an honor. I live
Thank
to
you,
serve.
Paul.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
appreciate it as well. I apologize. I'm still traveling from work, but I did want to hear your presentation. And as Ms. Kinney said, we do appreciate all of your contributions to the organization.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Perfect.
All
Thank you
righty.
so much for watching.